Hello. Hi. Sorry that we disconnected the last session I had abruptly, but we had a power failure here. This is Matt Mudderman. I'm the author of Your Life is Up to You. Choices have consequences. You decide. This session, I'm going to continue the conversation regarding education. Our last session, I talked a lot about middle school, mostly high school transition. And let me summarize again. For those of you in high school struggling, you deserve a safe educational environment. If you don't have it, go talk to the administrators of your school. If they fail to act and you still feel unsafe and you're bullied and threatened, find a new school. As I've said before, you're the one that has to take control of your life. Your life is up to you. You have to take control. If you're not getting the education or have the environment to get the education you need to get a high school education, change your environment. Go to a magnet school, go to a private school, go to a Catholic school. If your parents are still at home, most of which that might be watching this, you don't have, or you don't have the support like I didn't have growing up, you have to take chances to make sure you finish a high school education. In addition, make sure those counselors in high school are giving you good advice, helping you through the maze of decisions. If you're in poverty or without parents, living in a lower social economic environment, there is money for you for high school. And there are certain high schools that will fund your education if you don't have a way to pay for it. As you go through high school, you have to isolate on what you want to do next. Decide whether you're going to go to a vocational school, a 2-year school, whether you need a 4-year college education. Think about what you want to do with your life. For me, in my senior year, I took a bookkeeping class at Western Hills High School. I was pretty good at it. And I started thinking, okay, maybe an accounting job, a bookkeeper's job is what I'll get long term. Short term, my goal was just to get the heck out of high school, go start making money because no one else was supporting me so I could live on my own. And that's fine too, if that's what you want to do, but make sure you finish your high school education. The other learning that I had was this idea of money being available to underprivileged kids or underserved kids. So there are private scholarships, there's public money, private money that's available at campuses. As you progress through high school and you look to graduating, you should be talking to financial offices of various colleges, the college that you might want to go to. So as we transition from high school to college, there's a couple of things that I learned along the way that you need to be aware of. In high school, you can take an ACT or SAT class or a test to get you positioned for college, but you don't have to. And in my case, no one talked to me about those tests or entry tests to get to colleges. I never really thought about going to college, so I didn't have those tests. Now, it slowed me down. I took a long way around to get my bachelor's in accounting, But what I did first, without those entry tests, colleges tend to put you into, well, let's go test them. Let's go figure out what they really are capable of doing. I went to day school at a 2-year college, University of Cincinnati, for an associate degree. I didn't require those ACT or SAT tests for entrance. I commuted back and forth from my apartment, so I wasn't paying dorm cost. And I was basically paying class fees and books. That helped with my finances since I was paying for those things myself. And I finished my associate degree while working part-time in retail outlets. In Cincinnati, there used to be something on Glenway Avenue called Gold Circle, and I worked there. I worked for Chrysler Primus dealership on Glenway Avenue at the time as well, in the parts department, taking inventories and selling parts to customers in the service department. So I funded my own way for that associate degree. And after I completed my associate degree in accounting, I decided, okay, I am now going to go full-time work, part-time school, but I'm going to continue my education to get a bachelor's degree in accounting. These are decisions you'll have to make. But again, like most of you that will be listening to these podcasts, I had to do it all on my own. I had to find my way. I didn't have people talking to me about it. I had to learn how to do it. I graduated in 1987 with my bachelor's degree, 10 years after my graduation from my high school education. 10 years. The last few years I was married and we had our first child, and my wife's mother helped both my wife and I babysat our child so that we could attend evening college twice a week. The road is hard, the road is tough, and unless you're committed, absolutely committed to getting an education, you won't succeed. And you'll work, you'll contribute to society, but you won't advance and enjoy some of the higher earnings that you can make with a degree. Now, many of you, and I had many friends that I went to middle school and high school with, that never went to a traditional college. They went to trade schools. One of my dearest friends went to auto body school, and he learned the trade. He started learning the trade in high school in a vocational class, and he got out of high school and he continued that trade for most of his career until he turned into a machinist, never having attended college. And that has to be an option for everyone listening that is not made up to go to college. There are electrical apprentices, there are plumbing apprentices, there are auto body apprentices, mechanic apprentices. There are many, many, many jobs that make our society run that are perfectly good paying jobs that will provide financial support to you and your significant other and whatever family you decide to have. But all of this comes from your commitment to deciding what you want, researching how to go about getting that education, or that whether in getting into those schools, getting into those vocational schools, getting into those magnet schools. But again, make sure that you're focused on getting your education and getting the technical training or the higher level education that you deserve and that will provide for you a life outside of the projects, outside of poverty, outside of risky neighborhoods where you fear for your life every time you walk on the street. You can begin to shape yourself a future to live in a community more safe, affordable. And this is the path I took, and this is the path that all of you can take. You just have to be inspired to know and to get access to training that you want to achieve. On my last video, I talked to you about a gunshot accident where I was shot in the chest. I'm going to expand upon that now. When I was 14, living with my brother, who kept a loaded shotgun behind his couch, on one spring March day, a friend of mine was at home with us, and he picked up the shotgun, pointed it at me 3 feet away, and was jabbering something, but he pulled the trigger. Fortunately, he had it pointed at my chest directly, but instead I did a karate move I had learned by getting some free karate lessons. And I turned my body, and 100% of the shotgun blast hit underneath my armpit. What seemed like forever, but was seconds, my left side of my chest and my body just screamed with pain. The nerve endings were destroyed on the left side of my chest, underneath the arm and across my neck and across my shoulder. And I had to sit down because I was going into shock. I had to yell at my friend to go get help, pretty much with my last strength at that moment. He did. And my brother from downstairs came up out of the basement and then called for help. My sister-in-law, and then the police. First, I want to pause for just a minute and tell you the police came in the old station wagon police that the Cincinnati Police Department carried or drove. And they came in, and they were wonderful in terms of knowing exactly what to do to keep me alive, to get me to the hospital. My lung had collapsed and been destroyed by the shotgun blast, and I was fading in and out. They put gauze into the hole of my chest and put me in the police car, and we started our journey to University of Cincinnati Hospital, which is a level 1 trauma center in Cincinnati. During the ride, the police officer, I never got his name and I never said thank you, but I'll say thank you now. Throughout that ride, which was about 15 minutes, he kept telling me, stay awake, stay awake, stay alive. And was literally laying on me as we were being bounced around in the traffic as we were driving to the hospital. We get to the hospital, and I woke back up slightly, but I was clearly still in shock, losing lots of blood. And they cut my clothes off on the way to the x-ray department. In the old days, the x-ray machines didn't circle around your body or anything. They had to sit me up. And when they set me up, my ribs, my shattered ribs on the left side and the pellets that were inside of me shifted. And I swear I must have let a scream out that the whole hospital heard. From there, I don't remember much about except running, getting pushed into the operating room just like you see on TV. And during the course of the operation, which lasted approximately 10 hours, I had a death experience. And that death experience, I floated above my body. I saw the whole operating room, but I experienced the peacefulness that I had never experienced before. It was life-changing. It was like my soul was hovering above my body. And it was at that moment I realized that we all have a soul, and it will survive this human body of ours. It changed the way I looked at things and approached things forever. I came back to 3 days later in the the ICU, where people next to me were sicker or as critical as I was. I was on life support systems, oxygen support systems, a ventilator right there on my scar of my throat. And I stayed on that ventilator for several weeks. And I couldn't talk. I was very weak. Before I got shot, I weighed 163 pounds. When I woke up, I weighed 123 pounds. I was a shell of myself, but very happy to be alive. And this is where I learned that there's a plan for us. God helps us along the way. It is only through God's grace that I'm alive. And I've had, since I was 14, 52 years of additional days of life as I'm recording this. And I'm thankful every day. Yes, I was living the good life. I thought I was Mr. It, and I was very athletic before the gunshot accident, and afterwards I had to adjust. But I was thankful to be alive. And God's will is the reason I'm alive. Then the doctor's hands through which God's work was being worked is how I survived. Over the course of 5 weeks, most of which was in the intensive care unit, but a week and a half or so on the ward, I started gaining strength, but not strong enough to go back to school. I mentioned to you earlier, my school, Roger Bacon, did 2 wonderful things for me at the time. And people will do things for you if you need help and you seek help. One is to let me stay at home and do my homework from home for the balance of my freshman high school year. And the other is to do a blood drive for me across the Catholic high schools of Greater Cincinnati so that the blood bank could get back 32 pints of blood. 16 pints is what I lost, but we doubled it to get in the blood drive to give them 32 pints of blood. The reason I tell this story is it's all about perseverance. Things will happen. As I mentioned early on in my first video, my mother died when I was very young. The next year I got shot in the chest. My father being institutionalized, and when he gets out of the institution, he freezes to death on Mitchell Avenue construction area, walking home from a bar within 2 miles from his apartment. And I get to go in my freshman year of college, the Cincinnati Police Department come to my English class and when I was 19, and asked me to come to the county morgue to confirm the body that was found was my father. After burying him, both of my parents are now deceased. That's what continued to drive me to say, I don't want to live the life that they lived. It was hard. It was difficult. And I'm going to do better. So I was motivated throughout high school, from my mother's death and my own gunshot accident, to college when my father passed when I was a freshman, that I'm on my own and I got to figure out a way to be successful and to make sure I don't want to live like they lived. So I set out on that journey, and fast forward from 77 when I graduated from high school to 87 when I graduated with my bachelor's degree from evening college at the University of Cincinnati. I could show you the transcript. I ended up with a 3.16 grade point average, a B. Not an A. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, as I've mentioned on other videos. But I graduated, and I graduated with a B plus average for a kid who overcome all of those things. You can overcome more than you can ever imagine. You have to set your sight on goals. You have to self-talk. You have to think about yourself. At least plan that half hour that I mentioned in some of my earlier videos to map out what your approach is going to be. These things will set the stage for success for you. If you don't do it, no one else is going to do it for you. I've said this almost in every video, and I'll say it again as I get ready to close. Your life is up to you. You are the one that will decide and make choices every step of the way. Look, I made bad choices when I was growing up. We all grow and learn that way. Make choices, though, that will not impact your ability to grow, achieve your education, achieve your goals. You will have setbacks. We all have setbacks. But choose wisely. Don't do anything that will change your life so dramatically that you will not be able to succeed and achieve the goals that you set out for yourself. Make good choices so that the consequences of any of your choice doesn't limit what you want to do, where you want to go. Again, my book is titled, Your Life is Up to You. In my next video, I'm going to share with you some key principles that I've outlined in the book. And I'm also going to make those key principles available on a wallet card for you to keep those handy, to remind yourself every day of some of the little traits that I developed over my life to become successful at what I do, that might just help you become successful at what you want to accomplish. Until next time, have a great day, have a great week, be safe, and remember, all of the choices you make will provide the direction of your life. It will open and shut doors. And ultimately, it will provide for you your achievements as you go through life or setbacks. Make good choices. Your life is up to you. If you want to reach out to me, my last name is Muddiman, Muddiman, at sbcglobal.net. Muddiman at sbcglobal.net. Thank you and have a good day.